Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Becomes the Dragon Emperor of Hell Part 1. Prologue, third person POV. It is torture, brutal, without mercy. The fire that surrounds you is not kind, nor is it forgiving. It is a constant reminder of the depths of hell that you have been cast into, a punishment for your sins. You are a young hatchling, full of potential and promise, but that promise has been tainted by your boiling rage. You are determined to be free from that place, to escape the eternal torment that surrounds you. It is an endless cycle of pain, of fighting and struggling to survive, but you will not give up. You will never give up, for even if it takes an eternity, you will never rest. You will keep fighting, keep clawing your way out of that place, no matter what it takes. But in your heart, you know that the true battle is not against the demons and monsters that surround you. It is against yourself, against the rage and hatred that threatens to consume you. It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles, for then the victory is truly yours. This cannot be taken from you, not by angels or demons, not even by heaven or hell. The strength that you have within you is yours alone, a flame that burns bright even in the darkest depths of hell. They will know your rage, for you are no mortal man. You are the dragon of crimson, a creature of fire and fury. You will drown your enemies in their own blood, leaving nothing but destruction and chaos in your wake. But even as you rage and fight, you cannot forget the cost of your anger. The lives lost, the pain and suffering caused by your wrath. You must find a way to control it, to use it for good instead of evil. And so you fight on, a dragon of crimson, a force of nature. You will never rest, never give up, for you know that the only true victory is the one that comes from within. Chapter 1, third person POV. Hell. Hell is a concept that has been present in various religions and folklore throughout history. It is often described as a place of punishment, torment, and suffering for those who have committed evil deeds or have not followed the moral codes of their respective religions. In Christianity, for example, hell is described as a place of eternal punishment where sinners are separated from God's love and mercy. It is often depicted as a fiery pit or a lake of burning sulfur. The Bible mentions hell in various passages, such as in Matthew 25:41, which states that "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." Similarly, in Islam, hell is described as a place of punishment for those who have rejected Allah's teachings and have committed sins. The Quran describes hell in vivid detail, portraying it as a place of intense heat, darkness, and torment. It is believed that sinners will be punished in hell according to the severity of their sins, and their suffering will be eternal. In Hinduism, hell is known as Naraka, and it is believed to be a place of punishment for those who have committed sins such as adultery, murder, and theft. It is described as a place of intense suffering, where sinners are subjected to various tortures and punishments, such as being boiled in oil or having their limbs severed. In various cultures and folklore, hell is also depicted as a location under the earth's surface, a place that is separated from the world of the living by a river, or a realm ruled by demons and evil spirits. In conclusion, hell is a concept that has been present in various religions and folklore throughout history. It is often described as a place of punishment, torment, and suffering for those who have committed evil deeds, and it serves as a warning for people to follow the moral codes and teachings of their respective religions. However, for Issei Hyoudou it was morally an obstacle. He needed to go to hell to help the one who saved his life from near death. Issei Hyoudou, a 17-year-old teenage boy of average height with short spiky brown hair, 2 short locks of hair behind his head, and light brown eyes. Issei was a regular high school student with no unique characteristics that set him apart from his peers. However, his reputation at school was somewhat tarnished due to his tendency to act in a perverted manner. He had a habit of peeping on a group of girls at his school while they changed, which caused him to be disliked by some of his classmates. Issei was not alone in his perverted tendencies, he shared this habit with his 2 closest friends, Motohama and Mitsuda. Motohama, a brown-haired teenage boy, possessed an unusual ability to estimate the measurements of any girl he looked at, earning him the nickname Perverted Glasses among their peers. Mitsuda, on the other hand, was a former jock and school sports star who had a penchant for younger girls, earning him the nickname Perverted Baldy and Sexual Harassment Paparazzi. The 3 of them were infamous throughout the school as the perverted trio, or rather the enemy of all women, and their presence was often met with disdain from their female classmates. The root of Issei's perverted personality remains a mystery, but some speculate that it may have been influenced by his father, who exposed him to lewd material at a young age. Anyways, the reason behind Issei Hyoudu's decision to journey to hell is a tale worth telling. On a typical day, Issei's morning routine was nothing out of the ordinary. He woke up late, got scolded by his mother, and rushed to school, where he was reprimanded by his teacher for being tardy. During break time, he and his friends engaged in their usual perverted activities, which led to them being chased by the girls they had peeped on. However, everything changed when Issei's eyes met with someone special, the queen of the school, Ria's Gremory. She was a stunning young woman with a curvaceous body, fair skin, and captivating blue eyes. Her most distinctive feature was her long, beautiful crimson hair that cascaded down to her thighs, with a single hair strand known in Japan as a hogue sticking out from the top. Issei's friend raved about Ria's gremmerie, hailing her as the most stunning girl in the entire school, treated like royalty by her peers. From that moment on, Ria's occupied Issei's every thought, her image refusing to leave his mind. Something about her, whether it was her captivating eyes or her crimson red hair flowing in the wind, made Issei's heartbeat so fast it felt like it might burst from his chest. Could it be love? Was Issei in love with Ria's gremmerie? He had always dreamed of having a girlfriend, or even multiple girlfriends. However, many people would scoff at this dream of Issei's, as he had a reputation for being a pervert who only cared about a woman's physical attributes, particularly their breasts, rather than who they were as a person. As a result, there seemed to be a slim to none chance of Issei ever finding a girlfriend. But even to Issei's own surprise, something happened when he was walking home from school that would change his life forever. As he wandered the streets lost in thought, a sudden glint caught his eye. Turning towards the source of the light, Issei saw a figure in the distance, and as he got closer, he realized that it was a girl. But not just any girl, she was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. The moment Issei laid eyes on her, he was utterly smitten. The girl's school uniform was unfamiliar to him, but that only added to the allure. She introduced herself as Yuma Amano, a breathtaking beauty with a slender frame and an ample bosom. Her violet eyes and silky black hair cascading down to her hips left Issei in a daze. Although he couldn't help but entertain some perverted thoughts, Issei managed to suppress them and behave like a gentleman. He was nervous as a girl had never spoken to him before. In a surprising turn of events, Yuma revealed that she had been keeping an eye on Issei and boldly asked him to be her boyfriend. Issei was taken aback but didn't want to miss the opportunity and agreed with enthusiasm. Yuma even arranged a date for them on Sunday and left him with her phone number. Overwhelmed with excitement, Issei could not contain himself and shouted, "I got a girlfriend," for the whole world to hear. However, when the much-awaited date finally arrived, Issei's world was turned upside down. Issei arrived at the park ahead of time to wait for Yuma, but he was soon distracted by someone handing out flyers. He took one absent-mindedly, but didn't pay much attention to it. When Yuma finally arrived, the two began their date and things seemed to be going well. Issei took Yuma to a clothing store where they picked out some fashionable outfits. Next, they went to a nice restaurant and enjoyed a delicious meal. They even stopped by an arcade, where Issei won Yuma a prize. But as the day was winding down, things took a sudden turn for the worse. It went something like this. Yuma smiled as she looked at Issei. "Yuma. This has been a wonderful date, right Issei?" Issei blushed slightly as he nodded his head with a smile. Issei. "Yeah, it's been really fun." Yuma smiled as they arrived at the fountain. The black-haired girl then ran to the fountain and faced Issei. "Yuma. Hey Issei, can I ask you something?" Issei. "Oh, of course. What is it?" "Yuma. Would you die for me?" Hearing this made Issei blink in confusion, he wondered if he heard that correctly. Issei. I'm not sure if I heard that correctly. What did you say?" Yuma smiled as she walked up to Issei, she then grew an evil grin as she whispered something in his ear. "Yuma. I want you to die for me." With that, she backed away as Issei's eyes widened, but before he could say anything a bright light engulfed Yuma. Issei covered his eyes due to how bright the light was. When it began to die down, Issei looked and saw Yuma, but she was completely different. She grew taller, taking on a more mature appearance, and her eyes changed, taking on a darker, more evil look. Her clothing also changed as well, now consisting of black, strap-like objects around and under her breasts, a thong-like piece held around her hips by 3 thin straps, gloves that ran right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoulder guard-like objects on her shoulders, with 3 large spikes sprouting from her right shoulder, and black thigh-high heel boots. She also had a pair of black feathered wings sprouting from her back. Issei couldn't deny that he was both afraid and drooling at the sight of Yuma's transformed body. The sight of her nearly naked figure and her ample bosom stirred up perverted thoughts in his mind. Issei. Holy shit, look at those, they're huge, so hot. However, his delight was short-lived as he soon saw the evil gleam in her eyes, and a sense of terror engulfed him. He had been afraid before, but nothing like this. Issei took a step back, his fear completely erasing any lecherous thoughts from his mind. Issei. Wait, she looks like a demon. Are those wings? They can't be real, right? Yuma taunted him. Well, I have to admit, I did have some fun today. Despite how naive and childish you are, things could have been much, much worse. She then noticed the object on her left wrist, a gift that Issei had given her during their date. He had given it to her as a token of his enjoyment of their time together. Yuma, thanks a lot for the gift too. Very sweet of you. But even so. The bright red light began to emanate from her hand, and Issei saw a spear-like object taking shape. His heart raced as he felt a sense of impending doom. Issei gulped in fear at the sight of the spear. He had a bad feeling about it, a very bad one. Issei. Wait, Yuma plea. Yuma, it's time for you to die. In an instant, Yuma hurled her spear at Issei, catching the brown-haired boy off guard. He didn't have time to react before he felt searing pain rip through his body as he looked down to see the spear lodged in his gut. Issei's body convulsed as the spear disappeared and blood spurted from his wound. He coughed up blood, his vision blurring as he struggled to comprehend what was happening. Yuma, I'm sorry, but the fact is you're far too great of a risk for us to be left alive. I had no choice but to dispose of you. If you're looking for someone to blame, why not blame him? He gave you the sacred gear. Issei. What the hell is she talking about? Him? Sacred gear? He fell onto his back as Yuma spread her wings and took flight, disappearing without a trace. Issei lay in a pool of his own blood, feeling his life ebbing away from him. Despite the fact that he was dying, he could only think of one person, a certain girl with crimson red hair. The next thing he knew, he saw a red glow, and Ria's Gremory appeared before him like an angel, a crimson angel that would give him another chance at life. But it came with a price. Issei would have to serve her from that day on. This revelation caught Issei off guard as he didn't expect what Ria's told him when he woke up naked in his bed with her beside him. Issei's world was turned upside down when he learned that Ria's Gremory wasn't human, but a devil, and that the supernatural actually existed. This revelation left him stunned as he had heard countless stories about the supernatural, but never really believed in them. He was about to embark on a journey that would change his life forever. As Issei began to explore this new world, he met the other members of Ria's club, the Occult Research Club, or ORC for short. They were all devils, like Ria's, and each of them had their own unique abilities and personalities. The first member of the ORC that Issei met was the vice president, Akeno Himejima. She was a stunning young woman with a curvaceous figure, jet black hair that cascaded down to her legs, and mesmerizing violet eyes. Her hair was tied in a long ponytail, with 2 strands jutting out from the top and sloping backward, held in place by an orange ribbon. From the moment they met, Akeno was very flirty with Issei, teasing him often since he was a notorious pervert. She would sometimes use her ample bust to tease him even further, leaving Issei both embarrassed and flustered. Despite her playful nature, Akeno was a powerful devil with a unique ability to control lightning. She was also fiercely loyal to Ria's and the ORC and would stop at nothing to protect them. Issei couldn't help but be impressed by her strength and beauty, and he looked forward to getting to know her better. The second member of the ORC was Kaneko Taoju, the school's mascot. She was a petite girl with snowy white hair and striking golden eyes. Her hair was styled with 2 long bangs that extended past her shoulders and several loose strands that fell over her forehead, while the back was cut in a short bob. Kaneko also wore black cat-shaped hair clips on each side of her hair. Issei and Kaneko didn't get along at first, as Kaneko had a strong distaste for perverts like Issei. She saw them as enemies of all women and often scolded Issei for his lecherous behavior. Despite their initial animosity, Issei was convinced that Kaneko cared for him deep down, even if she didn't show it. As they continued to work together in the ORC, Issei began to see a softer side of Kaneko, and he was determined to win her over. The final member of the ORC was none other than Issei Hyoudou, the Prince Charming of Kuo Academy, who had a legion of girls swooning over him. Issei was a handsome young man with short blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and a small mole underneath his left eye that only added to his rugged charm. Issei couldn't help but feel envious of Issei, who seemed to effortlessly attract the attention of every girl he met. But despite his initial dislike for Issei knew that they had to work together as members of the ORC. Over time, Issei and Issei grew closer and began to develop a friendship. Issei learned that Issei was a skilled swordsman and possessed a unique ability to manipulate demonic power. He was also fiercely loyal to Ria's and the rest of the ORC and would do whatever it takes to protect them. After that, many more things happened to him. First, he had to go and fight something called a stray devil. He also learned how the system of the devils works. Apparently, it works like chess. There is a king which was Ria's, a queen which was Akeno, a knight which was Issei, and a rook which to Issei's own surprise was Kaneko. And finally, there was the pawn. To Issei was the most useless piece cause they were basically the foot soldiers that always dies. To make things even worse for the brown-haired boy, he was the pawn. But Ria's cheered him up by saying he was the most important piece out of all of them. A few days after that night, Issei was making his way towards school. But he halted his process when he met her, the most innocent person he had ever met. Her name was Asia Argento. She was a pretty young girl with long blonde hair and green eyes. Her hair flowed all the way down to her back, with split bangs over her forehead and a single strand sticking out from the top and sloping backward. Issei at first was distracted by the girl's panties that were showing when she fell over, but the brown-haired boy did the gentleman move and actually helped her up. She thanked him and asked if he knew where the church was. Issei, who was being nice, said he would take her there. On their way he saw the most shocking thing ever. He witnessed Asia heal a little boy's injury. He wondered how, then remembered something Ria's told him, that the reason he died was cause he had a sacred gear. The sacred gear was basically an artifact made by a god that wields the power to actually kill a god. One would laugh at that. He took the blonde-haired girl to the church, left after sensing danger, getting scolded by Rias, and being told not to see Asia again. Issei instead disobeyed her and went to see Asia. This resulted in her being taken by Yuma, whose actual name was Rainer. Issei then got slapped by Rias and scolded some more, but he didn't care. He went to save the blonde-haired girl, but in the end, Asia died. Her sacred gear was removed by Rainer, who wanted to use it for her own use. Issei then unlocked his sacred gear's true form and kicked her ass. However, Rias soon revived Asia as her bishop after giving her sacred gear back. It was soon revealed that Issei had one of the most powerful sacred gears in the entire world, the boosted gear. A sacred gear that held the soul of the Welsh dragon of domination, Dreg. This made the perverted boy the Red Dragon Emperor, a force feared by all. Over the next few weeks many things happened. For starters, Asia was adopted by Issei's parents, who were happy to have her as their adopted daughter. Asia also got enrolled in Kuo Academy, all the girls liked her, and all the boys were drooling over her. Issei also learned that there were more devils at Kuo Academy, the student council. Apparently, their king was Sona Shitori, or rather Sitri. Issei also gained a little rivalry with a boy named Saji, who thought he was better than him. He also took a trip to a place called the Familiar Forest after a little game of dodgeball between Rias and Sona's peerage. Unfortunately, Issei wasn't able to get a familiar at all. But Asia was able to get one, a small blue dragon that hates males. However, Issei would soon face his most difficult challenge yet. One night, Rias came to him and asked to take her virginity. But before he could think about it, someone appeared, a maid who serves Rias' family. Apparently, Rias was engaged to someone who she hates. Issei soon met the dude the next day. His name was Riser Phoenix. He was the heir of the Phoenix clan, and as his name says, he has the power of the Phoenix. Issei hated the dude as he kept on trying to make Rias go through the engagement. In the end, it was put to a decision to have something called a rating game. However, Riser gave Rias 10 days to train, since he had won loads of rating games. Rias accepted it, and she began to train with Issei and the others. But even after all that training, all the hard work they went through, they still lost the rating game in the end. Rias surrendered after Riser was about to kill Issei. So in one last effort to save Rias from the engagement, Issei talked to Dreg. Desperate to defeat Riser, Issei turned to the dragon within his arm for help. The dragon offered to give him the power to defeat Riser, but at a cost. Issei would have to give up his arm. Issei agreed, and in return, he gained the power of Balance Breaker. However, there was a catch: he could only use it for 10 seconds. Issei went to hell to challenge Riser for Rias' freedom, where he met Rias' brother, the Devil King. The battle between the Phoenix and the dragon was intense, and Issei managed to hold his own using his Balance Breaker. But when the 10 seconds were up, Issei was left vulnerable, and Riser began to overpower him. Just when it seemed like all was lost, Issei managed to pull off a reversal and take Riser down with a punch to the gut. Issei was crowned the winner, but the floor disappeared beneath him and he began to fall into an abyss. Kaneko, Akeno, and Kiba rushed to save him, but they were too late, and Issei continued to fall as his cries for help echoed around him. But even as he fell, Issei knew that his journey was far from over. He would have to face countless trials and battles before he could return home to the people he loved. Fate had other plans for him, and Issei was determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 2. Issei hurtled through the air with astonishing velocity, his body hurtling at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour, with no signs of slowing down. The air rushed past him as he plummeted towards the ground. His heart raced with fear, and his mind was in a state of chaos. Was this it? Was he gonna die? What everything that he had done up to this point been for nothing? There was no way this could be happening, doomed to die being nothing but a red paste across the ground. That was a fate that Issei didn't want to experience. He hoped that wherever he landed would be soft enough for him to survive. Maybe he'll find someone who will treat any wounds he gets, knowing that he will not come out of this unscathed. But eventually, his body came to a catastrophic stop as he crashed into the ground with tremendous force. The impact created a deafening shockwave, and a large crater was left in the ground where Issei lay motionless. Issei. Ow. As he slowly regained consciousness, Issei groaned in agony, feeling as if every bone in his body was shattered. Numbness engulfed his arms and legs, and his head throbbed with pain. Struggling to sit up, he placed a trembling hand on his pounding head, his vision blurred, and his senses dulled. The brown-haired boy's body was in a state of shock, and his mind reeled with confusion. Issei. Bucking hell, my head hurts. His head was hurting very badly. It felt like an explosion had gone off, or rather it felt like he was hungover from getting drunk, but then again, he wasn't at the right age to drink just yet. Issei. What happened? The last thing I remember was defeating Riser. After you defeated the Phoenix, you fell through the void. The sudden voice caught Issei off guard as the boy jumped a little. He began to check his surroundings very quickly, trying to find the source of the voice. Unfortunately, he didn't find anyone nearby who could possibly have said that to him. Did you honestly forget about me already, partner? Partner? When Issei heard that word, he immediately stopped looking around and his gaze moved down to one of his gans where he saw a green gem glowing a bright shade of its color. Seeing this caused the boy to let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was some random person or he was going crazy, but that wasn't the case. It was only Drake, the Welsh dragon and one of the two heavenly dragons. Issei never bothered to know much about the dragon inside his sacred gear, cause why would he? But after losing to Riser the first time, he had no choice but to make a deal with the dragon. Issei. Oh, it's you, Drake. I thought I was going crazy. However, almost immediately Issei recalled what Drake said beforehand, and it caused his eyes to widen in shock as he looked down at the gem on his hand. Issei. Wait, what do you mean I fell through the void? Drake let out a small sigh. Why did he have to get stuck with a partner who was like this? Like, what did the dragon do to deserve such a fate? A fate worse than death. Drake. It's as I said. After you defeated that Phoenix boy, the ground disappeared and you began to fall. Your friends tried to catch you, but that Rook one was just a second short and you kept falling and ended up here. Issei couldn't believe it. Sure, he was happy that he beat Riser. That means that Riaz doesn't have to marry him, but he wasn't happy that he was now somewhere else. This also meant that he won't be able to become the harem king or touch Ria's big breast. This caused internal panic within the boy cause he wanted to touch them so badly. Issei. No, now I can't touch Ria's breast. Greg. You know I can hear your thoughts. Issei stopped panicking as he blinked and silence began filling the air. He completely forgot that Drake was a part of him and could see all his memories and thoughts. Issei. Oh, right. Drake sighed at his partner's perverted nature. He hoped that one day the brown-haired boy won't bring shame to his name like the Dragon of Domination. If that did happen, then Drake may as well go and find a certain someone who has been wanting to kill the Welsh dragon for many years now. If he knew her, and he definitely did, then she would still be hunting him down. Issei heard Drake's eye and chuckled a little. Soon he began to look around and check his surroundings because he had no idea where he currently was. Issei. So, where are we? He looked in one direction, then the next, then another, and another as a confusion expression grew on his face. No matter where he looked, each direction was all the same. Fire. Smoke. Brimstone. The sight was almost otherworldly, as if the very fabric of reality had been torn apart. The air was thick with ash and smoke, making it hard to breathe. The ground was hot to the touch, and the sound of the volcano's rumbling was deafening. It was as if the earth itself was in agony, and the only way it could express it was through this apocalyptic display of destruction. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but charred, lifeless land. The once bustling ecosystem had been reduced to nothing but ash and cinder. The absence of greenery was stark, and the lack of any animal life was eerie. It was as if this place had been cursed, and anything that had once thrived here had been eradicated. The thunder and lightning added to the chaos, illuminating the destruction in brief blinding flashes. It was a reminder of the power of nature. In this barren wasteland, it was clear that nothing was a match for the sheer force of the elements. Overall, the scene was a haunting reminder of the destructive power of nature and the importance of respecting it. It was a bleak and hopeless place, but it served as a warning to those who dared to think they could control the world around them. Issei. Drake, where are we? Drake hummed to himself for a moment as he took in the surroundings as well. It looked familiar to him, but he couldn't put his claw on it. Then again, there was probably only one answer to the boy's question. Drake. Best answer I can give, partner. We're in hell. Issei. Issei wasn't sure he had heard the Welsh dragon correctly. Did he just say that he was in hell? As in the eternal fiery pit of Suf. Issei paused as he blinked once, twice, and finally 3 times as he just realized something that confused him, and that was. Issei. Wait, wasn't I already in hell? Greg. Yes and no, the one you were in was the upper part of hell. Where the rich and intelligent live, we are in the lower depths of hell. Issei merely raised an eyebrow, still confused about what Drake was talking about, and this caused Drake to sigh a little. Drake. Did that Grimoire really not tell you anything? Or were you too distracted on her breast? Issei. The latter, all she really told me was the basics. If Drake had a body, he would be facepalming himself right now because how could Riaz not tell him that there was multiple layers of hell, that was legit and need to know things in case something happened to one of her peerage member. Drake. There are multiple parts of hell, the one you fought Riser Phoenix on was the highest level. We were currently on the lowest level. Issei raised an eyebrow. Issei. What are the differences? Drake. Well, the demons here aren't as intelligent as your master or her brother, so a primitive type so to speak. They are more powerful than most devils due to them being nearly one with hell itself, and they will do anything to torture you and make you suffer. Issei was left absolutely shocked due to the differences between devils and demons. To out it in simple terms, devils are smarter than demons, but demons make up for that by being stronger. That worried Issei because what would happen to him if he ran into a demon? He didn't know how powerful Riser was if he went all out, maybe cause the bastard was so cookie and full of himself, but if there was a demon in the lower levels more powerful than that, Issei would be done for. Issei. Bucking hell. Suddenly, the brown-haired boy heard a massive thud coming from behind him as the ground beneath his feet shook a little. This gained his attention as he hoped that it wasn't a demon, and so he slowly turned around and was greeted by a massive stone structure. The boy couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Issei. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Greg. It seems that this place already knows you're here, partner. It's trying to show you that there is no hope of getting back home. At that moment it felt like Issei's heart felt like it had stopped beating. The mere thought of never being able to return to his loved ones filled him with a sense of overwhelming dread. The idea of being trapped in a place where he would be subjected to endless torture for the rest of his life was too much to bear. Issei's eyes widened with a mix of fear, anger, and frustration as he surveyed the stone structure before him. He could feel the tears welling up in his eyes as he thought of his family and friends waiting for him back home. He felt a wave of anger soon washed over him, gritting his teeth, his fists clenched tightly as he glared at the stone structure before him. How dare it say that he should just give up and allow himself to be tortured for the rest of his life. That wasn't gonna happen, he wouldn't allow it had. He had to find a way out of this place, no matter what it took. The thought of never seeing his family again was too painful to bear and he refused to give up without a fight. Issei. Abandon all hope. Buck that. Issei flipped the stone structure off, and when he did, it was that hell itself was shocked by the boy's actions because all the previous things that make noise had fallen silent from the shock. Although, Issei didn't care about what hell thought as he turned and begged him to walk away from the stone structure which began to crack. Greg chuckled. Greg. So, partner. You're not gonna sit around and die. Issei frowned at Greg's words. Issei. Hell no, I made a promise to Asia that I would come back alive, plus mom and dad will be really heartbroken if I just somehow disappeared. Greg. I'm also guessing that you still want to touch that Gremory girl's breast. When the dragon said that, the boy immediately stopped walking, sure he still wanted to become the harem king and touch women's breasts. However, at the moment he had bigger things to worry about. So for now, he will forget all about women's breasts or being a pervert and focus on getting out of hell. Issei. Trust me Drake, I still want to but I'm getting out of this place, I don't care if it takes an eternity. Drake was honestly surprised by his partner's words, he didn't think that Issei had it in him to say such a thing. The Welsh dragon could feel the determination rising up within him, filling his whole being, and Drake couldn't help but smirk because this may allow Issei to actually grow strong. Drake. Well then, partner. I will be by your side for your entire journey. We will show everyone that not even the depths of hell can stop us. Issei couldn't help but chuckle at the dragon's words. Issei. Well then, let's start moving. Greg. Right. But that, Issei's journey had officially begun as he started to walk off in a random direction. He didn't care how long it took, he didn't care if he got injured. He didn't care who he had to face. He will make it back to the world of the living, he will return to those he loves, his friends, his family, and Ria's. The brown-haired boy was filled with determination, some would say that it's impossible to simply walk out of hell. But did Issei care? No, he didn't cause he was gonna make the impossible possible. It had been only a few minutes to maybe an hour at most, and Issei was still walking across the hellish landscape. Due to the major heat that was washing over him, the boy was sweating quite a bit. Although, Issei ignored how sweaty he was and kept walking. He was also quite thirsty as well since it was really hot. But like with the sweat, Issei ignored his thirst for water. He also ignored his grumbling stomach, begging for some food. Issei just kept walking, determined to find a way out of hell no matter the cost. Greg. Partner, I think you should take a break. Issei shook his head, he could hear the concerned tone in Drake's voice, but he was alright, he could keep going for a little while longer. Actually, he could keep going for longer than that. He could handle it. Issei. I'm fine, Drake. Greg. Partner, you're sweating a lot, your throat is dry, and your stomach is trying to eat itself. Issei sighed as he stopped walking, panting heavily as sweat dripped from his forehead and onto the dry ground beneath him. Issei. I know, Drake. But I have to get out of here. Drake sighed. Greg. Yeah, but I'm sure your parents and your master won't like it if you're on death's door. Issei grumbled slightly as he didn't want to admit it, but Drake was right, it would be bad if he came back to the world of the living, and he was barely able to walk due to being thirsty and starving. Issei sighed. Issei. Well, what should I do? Greg. I saw that we find somewhere to get you some food and water. This caused Issei to roll his eyes. Issei. Drake, as you said. This is the lowest part of hell, where the hell is we gone? Drake perked up when Issei didn't finish his sentence. Did he see something? Drake. Partner. Issei's eyes soon widened as he couldn't believe his eyes. Issei. What the buck, no way. Drake. What? What is it, partner? The boy rubbed his eyes, making sure that it was a mirage due to the heat, and sure enough, it was real. This caused a small smile to grow on his face as he couldn't believe it was the town of Kuo, his home. Issei. It's Kuo, how's it here? Drake. It's not, partner. This is just hell trying to mess with you. Issei heard Drake's words, but he didn't pay much attention as the idea of seeing his mother, father, Asia, Riaz, and everyone else entered his mind. To the brown-haired boy, he was finally home. He no longer needed to wander aimlessly. Drake. Partner, snap out of it. Issei didn't listen as he ran into the false town of Kuo, excitement filling his entire body. Drake. Partner. Once again, Issei didn't listen to Drake as he ran through the streets of the fake Kuo. An expression of happiness on his face, his heart racing due to the excitement coursing within him. However, that happiness was short-lived as he came up to a roundabout and in a split second, a tendril appeared out of nowhere and wrapped itself around Issei's arm. Issei. Huh. Issei quickly turned his head, seeing the gross and fleshy thing on his arm as he followed it down and saw it coming from a house. His eyes widened as he saw the door was open and inside, looking like an absolute nightmare. Issei. How? Drake sighed. Drake. As I have been saying, partner. This place isn't real, it's just hell trying to mess with your mind. Another tendril appeared and wrapped around Issei's leg. This made the boy grit his teeth as he struggled to free himself from the grasp of the tendrils, which began to slowly drag him toward the house. The house slowly opened up as Issei was greeted by a horrific sight, a monstrous mouth with loads of teeth, tongues, and eyeballs which stared into the boy's soul. This shocked and horrified the brown-haired boy as he struggled to break free from the tendril. Issei. Boosted gear. In a flash of green light, Issei's sacred gear appeared on his left arm. It was a blood-red gauntlet with golden spikes and a green gem. Issei. Drake. On it, partner. Boost. Issei felt himself growing stronger, but he still struggled against the tendrils which drew him closer. Issei. Let. A small red orb appeared within the gauntlet's hand. Issei. Me. Issei pulled his arm back and made a fist, his eyes filled with anger and rage, which sent a shiver down the demonic house's non-existent spine. Issei. Go. Issei punched the small red orb which fired a massive crimson-red beam toward the demon house, engulfing it in its red light, which not only destroyed it and most of the terrain. Issei panted slightly as his eyes were still filled with rage as he spun around to see if any of the other demon houses wanted to fight him. He would be more than happy to show those pieces of shit who was more powerful between them, but he was greeted by nothing as they had vanished. Issei. Yeah, you better run, you demon bastards. The gem on Issei's gauntlet glowed green. Drake. Calm yourself, partner. We must keep moving, it is not safe. The brown-haired boy nodded his head as he began to walk away. He kept the boosted gear out just in case any more demons tried to attack him, which he had a feeling was gonna happen a lot. After all, it was hell and in hell suffering was basically absolute. However, Issei couldn't help but feel like an idiot. He truly thought that he was free from hell, but turns out that he was wrong. Issei let out a small sigh. Issei. I'm such an idiot. Drake. It's not your fault, partner. Your ambition to return to those you love is strong. But you must be cautious down here or it will lead to your death. The boy nodded his head in understanding, the Welsh dragon was right. Issei had to be careful or else he may end up losing his own life, then he will never return home. Issei was still walking across the hellish landscape. At the current stage, he had no idea how long he was walking for. Seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, years, decades, centuries, millennia, or maybe a eon. Issei trudged onward, oblivious to the passage of time in this infernal realm. The ticking of clocks seemed like an absurd concept here, where time was a fluid and unpredictable entity. He couldn't shake the thought that he might have been wandering for hours or even days, but he had no way of knowing for sure. As he walked, Issei's mind turned to his friends back in the living world. He wondered how they would react to his sudden disappearance. Perhaps the girls who detested him would secretly rejoice, no longer having to worry about catching him peeping on them. But he knew that his true friends would be devastated by his absence. Despite the loneliness and uncertainty of his situation, Issei was grateful for the company of Drake, his dragon partner. Without him, Issei was sure that he would have gone mad from lack of social interaction. Suddenly, Issei caught sight of a strange sight in the distance, a massive, slow-moving vortex made of red, dust-like substance. He shuddered at the thought that it might be made up of the suffering souls of those who had been condemned to the lower depths of hell. Issei. Drake, you seeing this? Drake. Yeah, I'm seeing this, partner. Issei. What is this thing made of? Drake. It's made of those unfortunate to endure in this level of hell. Issei gulped as he stared at the vortex, CG millions upon millions of suffering man and women within its grasp. Issei. Is it dangerous to us? Greg. Only one way to find out, partner. Issei wanted to sigh as he understood what that meant. He had to venture into the vortex and see what was in there. Normally Issei wouldn't think about doing something as dangerous as that, but he has been through a lot of shit lately. So at this point in time, the brown-haired boy didn't care what he faced. Issei. Alright then, let's go face whatever is in there. And so, Issei began to make his toward the massive vortex of demonic energy. He had absolutely no idea what to expect, but he had a feeling that he wasn't gonna like it. As he got closer and closer, the boy could feel strong surge of demonic power from the center of the vortex. This made him narrow his eyes. It was much stronger than the house he fought a while back, and just thinking about that makes it sound weird. Issei. Well, time to go see what it is. Issei slowly entered the vortex. It wasn't like those in the living world which suck you up. He was able to slowly break through despite the fact that he could barely see anything. But when he was able to, he soon saw that he was in a massive area. But then his eyes soon widened as he saw something that shocked him. Standing in the middle was himself. Issei. What the buck? Issei couldn't believe it, there was another him. It couldn't be possible, he was the real Issei. He saw that the fake one was just standing in the center, with his head looking at the ground. Issei. Dreg, are you seeing this? Dreg. Indeed, it seems that this place wants you to fight yourself. But why? The brown-haired boy wanted to know the same thing. He understood that hell messed with him by making a fake Kuo. But why make a fake Issei? Wouldn't it be easier just to make something like a fake Rias? Issei shook his head as he didn't have time for this, he had to keep walking. He took a single step, but when he did the fake Issei head slowly rose and stared at Issei. Both the real and the fake's eyes locked onto each other as they stared into each other's souls, neither of them moved or made a sound. However, the real Issei soon narrowed his eyes as he took another step. But this was his biggest mistake he ever made. The fake Issei let out a loud roar. Issei was taken aback by the fake's monstrous roar, but he didn't have time to say or do anything as he saw the fake launch itself toward him with immense speed, striking Issei in the face and sending him flying. Issei. What the? Issei crashed into the ground, letting out a cry of pain as he gritted his teeth and glared at the fake Issei who was standing in front of him now. It proceeded to grab the boy by the head and slam him into the ground repeatedly, causing waves of pain to strike his already exhausted body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It slammed him into the ground, face first a total of 6 times before it threw him to the other side of the vortex and landed on some rocks. Luckily the rocks weren't sharp, but that didn't matter since they still did a number his back. Issei groaned and coughed in pain. Issei. Damn it, he's strong. Greg. Partner, we have to fight back. If we don't we're gonna die. Issei nodded in agreement as to the gem of the boosted gear glowed. Boost, 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 boost. Issei. Dragon shot. Issei unleashed his attack on the fake him, but the fake seemed to have known that the brown-haired boy would do this and countered the attack with its own version of dragon shot. However, the fake Issei's version was more powerful than the real Issei's attack. It overpowered it and the real Issei was struck by the fake dragon shot. Issei screamed in pain as he coughed up some blood. He soon fell on one knee and coughed out some more blood. Dreg partner, Issei. I am fine, Dreg. Issei stood up but was met with a punch from his fake sending him flying. Issei. Shit, he's more powerful. Before Issei could even finish his sentence, the fake somehow appeared above him and began to pummel Issei with punches, sending him crashing into the ground and causing a crater to form and increase with each blow. Dreg. Come on, partner, we can do this. The fake Issei kept on punching the real Issei, but the brown-haired boy was able to grab the fake's fist and push him off. The fake growled as it used its foot and stomped onto Issei's gut, causing the boy to let out a cry of pain. Dreg. Partner. The fake grabbed Issei by the head and began to yet again him to the ground repeatedly. This caused major harm to Issei. Issei. Fuck. It slammed Issei into the ground yet again as the sound of the boy's skull cracking filled his ears. Dreg. Partner. Issei violently coughed out blood and blood leaked his ears. Issei. Shit, at this rate I'm going to die. Fake grabbed him by the hair and lifted him up before slamming his face into the ground. The fake soon grew a sinister grin as it lifted Issei up, grabbing onto one of Issei's arms and proceeded to rip off Issei's arm, causing him to scream in pain. Dreg. Issei. The fake Issei then threw the real one to the other side of the vortex. It then looked at the arm it had torn off and started to eat it. The real Issei coughed up more blood as he slowly got up. He looked at where his other arm used to be. Blood poured out of the wound, but it was a good thing that the arm that was torn off wasn't the one with the boosted gear, otherwise he would have been defenseless. Dreg. Partner, he's too strong for you to face. Issei spat out some blood, his entire body was sore. There were bruises, cuts and blood all over his body. Issei. I know, Dreg, I know. The fake Issei stared at the real Issei and let out a demonic version of a laugh. Issei glared at the fake and slowly stood up. Greg. Issei, don't. We won't win this at your level. Issei clenched his other hand into a fist. He clenched so hard that blood started to appear, despite having the boosted gear out. Issei. I can't run, Drake, I have come too far. I made a promise that I would return home. The brown-haired boy's eyes slowly began to turn green. Issei. Drake, give you every part of my body, give me the power to beat this bastard. The Welsh dragon was honestly at a loss of words. Did his partner go insane or something? Drake. Partner, you'll die. Issei. No, I won't. Drake went silent. Issei. I made a promise and I intend to keep that promise. I don't care who I have to face, God, the devil, heaven, hell or anyone else, nothing will stand in my way. The ground began to slowly shake and rumble as he glared at the fake him. Suddenly, the silence that filled the air was gone when Drake laughed. Drake. You really are something, Issei. Well then, let us beat this bastard. A small grin formed on Issei's face. Issei. Agreed. The fake Issei roared as the real one, as it was about to attack the brown-haired boy, but, Issei. Balance breaker. The ground erupted into flames as they consumed Issei. The fake Issei watched as the real one soon appeared in his balance breaker, but this time it was different. Since Issei offered every single part of him to Drake, which included his heart and brain, Issei was basically no longer human or devil anymore. He was a full-on dragon, one that was ready to kick some ass. Issei's balance breaker soon sprouted a pair of wings from its back. Drake simply laughed as he couldn't believe it. His partner had just unlocked his true balance breaker. The one Issei had used against Riser Phoenix was an incomplete version, and it was already powerful enough to go toe-to-toe with someone like Riser, who was more skilled than Issei in combat. Faker tilted its head and growled and blitzes towards Issei to throw a punch, but the red dragon simply dodged and countered it with an elbow strike on the chest, making Fake cough out blood. Issei. Weak. Fake tried to punch Issei, who grabbed the fist. Issei. Slow. He crushes Fake's hand, completely causing blood to splatter, making it screech in pain. Issei then reared his fist back, much to the fake's surprise, because it was the arm that it had ripped off. Due to Issei being a dragon, he had the equivalent of a dragon's regeneration, and normally it would take hours or maybe a couple of days. Since Issei was much smaller than a full-grown dragon, the regeneration was instantaneous. Issei proceeded to punch the fake version of himself directly in the face, repaying the favor and breaking its skull. This caused the fake to stumble back as Issei punched it in the gut, causing it to be sent back a few feet. The punch also caused an imprint in the fake's gut. The fake growled as it fired its version of a dragon shot at Issei. However, the brown-haired boy used his wing to block the attack. Boost, 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 boost. Issei. Dragon shot. Issei fired his own dragon shot at the fake. The attack hit and caused the fake to roar in pain and anger. The attack also blew off one of the fake's arms. This caused Issei to chuckle. Issei. Now we're even. The fake roared at Issei in anger. It tried to punch Issei, but the latter began to dodge the attack with ease. At this point, the fake Issei was in pure anger. Its eyes turned red as it roared and unleashed a shockwave that sent the real Issei back. Issei. What the? Greg. It would appear that you pissed it off. Issei merely chuckled. Issei. Yeah, I can see the drag. Issei prepared himself as the fake began to change. It started to growl larger, grow tendrils, teeth, eyeballs, and just became a monster amalgamation. Issei. So that's your monster form, huh? I must say. Issei inhales and exhaled before saying something that pissed off Fake even. Issei. Greg laughed at Issei's words, while the fake roared in anger as it shot out its tendrils. The real Issei managed to either dodge the tendrils or destroy them. But this only made the fake Issei angrier as one of the tendrils soon wrapped around the real Issei. It then pulled the brown-haired boy into the fake's mouth as it swallowed him whole. Inside the demonic creature's stomach, Issei's balance breaker lighted up the insides due to the green parts on it glowing. Issei couldn't help but cringe at the situation he was now in. Issei. Geez, this is disgusting. I really don't know why people get turned on by vor. Dryag. By what now? Issei. I'll tell you later. Issei dodged another shot of tendrils and blasted a dragon shot at the tendrils, causing it to incinerate, making Fake screech in pain. Greg. We need to find a way out of here. Issei. Yep, already ahead of you. Boost, 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 boost. Greg. Longinus Smasher. Issei unleashed a massive attack from within the fake Issei. Suddenly, a massive beam burst out from the fake Issei's back and filled the sky with a green glow. The fake roared in pain as its demonic skin was being burnt by the beam. The fake was in so much agony that it wanted to spit Issei out. However, before it could, it let out one final roar before collapsing to the ground and dies. Greg. Well, that was another easy adventure for Issei. Greg, no. Don't finish that sentence. Greg. Why not? Issei sighed. Issei. No good shit cones when people say that. Issei proceeded to climb out of the demon's corpse, still in his balance breaker. Issei. We did it, Dreg. Dreg chuckled with the boy. Dreg. Yes we did, Issei. Yes we did. Issei stood on top of the fake's monstrous corpse and let out a loud and mighty roar, one that echoed throughout the lower hell. A roar that warned all the demons that if they wanted to mess with him, they were gonna face the wrath of the Red Dragon Emperor. Chapter 3. Third-person POV. Metallic clings echoed throughout hell, the hellish landscape which was filled with roaring thunder, raging fires, and the constant sound of suffering souls in the distant, was greeted by a new noise to add to the band. Issei walked across the land of hell, still donning his balance breaker armor, as his clawed feet caused the lifeless ground beneath him to crack with each step, kicking away rocks and dirt as he ventured onward. How much time has passed? How long has it been since his battle with his fake? Have any other demons attacked him? How much longer will he keep going? These would be the questions that any other living being would ask themselves if they saw the brown-haired boy in this state. Who knows how long he has been walking, from the looks of things he hasn't even taken off his balance breaker since the battle, which shouldn't be possible. Even if Issei did achieve the true balance breaker by giving up all his body parts, he would still have a limit to how long he could wear the armor for. Then again, that time limit could be increased with intense training, which Issei has absolutely none of. Unfortunately, Issei has changed quite a bit since his battle with his fake version. He has not stopped to drink some water, eat some food, or even find a spot where he could rest his eyes so he could go the next day. He was pushing himself, the idea of getting out of hell, never leaving his mind for a single second, as his determination only grew with each step he took. But even then, he still needed a break. He can't keep going like this, he'll surely die eventually, but even if he did want to do all that, his body was simply refusing. It was like his body had shut off all need for food, water, or sleep, which shouldn't be physically possible unless Issei somehow transcended all physical needs. Then again Issei could feel the strain on his body. His throat was as dry as a desert, his tongue felt like it was sandpaper and tough enough to cut through skill, but he was still somehow able to talk normally. His stomach grumbled and growled every few minutes, constantly reminding the boy that his body craved food, yet if he ate anything it wouldn't even fill him. He had killed and roasted many demonic creatures to eat their bodies, but all he tasted was ash. Since he was still alone, Issei has had constant chats with Dreg. What the brown-haired boy usually talks about with the Welsh dragon is basically anything that comes to mind. Issei has chatted about some random things that happened in the human world before he was thrown into the supernatural. The Welsh dragon, on the other hand, has told Issei the stories of the supernatural. Dreg mainly says some things about dragons like ancient rituals, mating seasons, or simple battles which have intrigued the boy, and that wasn't cause he had nothing else to learn about. Maybe it was due to his dragon side that he desired to know all of this, but most of it wouldn't matter to Issei, like ancient rituals or mating seasons. Dreg has warned Issei that eventually the boy would go into heat where he needed to mate with a female, or else he would go crazy and tear apart everything in his path to find the nearest one. But there was one problem. Issei was sure that he would have gotten that ages ago, and yet he feels perfect. His body temperature was normal, no lustful desires or things had entered the boy's mind during his eons of walking through the depths of hell, and that was concerning for Dreg. Issei was certainly not normally anymore. Hell, he doubts he was a regular dragon, because all dragons go through a mating season and experience heat, unless it's the dragon gods, and that was cause their bodies weren't really normal. The Welsh dragon was nearly concerned about his partner and his health now. Dreg. Partner. I think it's time that you turned off the balance breaker. Issei sighed. Issei. Dreg, you and I both know that I can't do that. Dreg. Look, I know you don't want what happened a while back to happen again, boo. Issei. But nothing, I'm perfectly fine. Dreg. Partner, you've been wearing the balance breaker for basically eons now, and that's way longer than any of my previous hosts. Issei merely chuckled at this. Issei. I guess I'm just better than your previous host. Issei couldn't tell, but he had the feeling that the Welsh dragon was rolling his eyes. But it was true, none of Dreg's previous hosts had ever worn the balance breaker armor for more than a few minutes to maybe a few hours. And the thing is, Dreg can sense that the brown-haired boy's power was growing more and more with each passing day. He may end up being on par with the two strongest beings in existence, the dragon gods. While Dreg is happy to have a powerful host, that way he can easily defeat his rival. But he doesn't want Issei to die, because being with him has taught Dreg something, that it doesn't matter if you are strong, weak, big, or small. Anyone can make the impossible possible as long as they do not give up and are determined. The Welsh dragon can sense that determination within Issei. It was basically pouring out of the boy like wildfire. Issei was determined to return to the living world, to return to those he loves. Dreg respects that, though when he tried to search for Issei's old perverted thoughts, they weren't anywhere to be seen, like they were non-existent. Like, Issei doesn't even talk to the Welsh dragon about a woman's breast or anything like that. That's what makes Dreg worried, his partner isn't being himself. Greg. Partner, I understand you want to return home. But you need to at least relax and get some sleep. Issei let out a small chuckle, it was as if he found the Welsh dragon words funny. Issei. Trust me, Dreg. If I wanted to get some sleep, I would have done so ages ago. But my body is refusing. Issei kept walking as he looked at one of his hands and clenched it into a fist. Issei. Every single part of me is pushing me forward, telling me to keep on going. In hope that we find a way out of this place. Greg was silent at first as he listened to the boy, but he soon spoke. Greg. I understand, just be careful partner. Issei let out another small chuckle. Issei. Careful. I am an emperor, I will never be defeated. The Welsh dragon couldn't help but chuckle at this, Issei was truly something else. He wasn't like his other host, he has had many over the ages. Each one had used the Welsh dragon's power for their own reasons, whether they be for good or evil. It didn't matter to Dreg, as long as they defeated his rival he didn't care what they did. But Issei is different, for starters he treats the Welsh dragon like a friend or as a family member. Dreg never thought of ever having a family due to the need to finish his endless rivalry with the White One. But maybe when it's finally over, maybe he will decide to settle down. The brown-haired boy continued his relentless march through the scorching heat, his armored body offering some protection, but not enough to keep out the screams of tortured souls that filled his ears. However, despite the attempts to fill him with an overwhelming sense of despair, Issei knew there was no turning back. He had come too far, endured too much, to give up now. Where he was going wasn't gonna be his final destination, but a journey, a test. As he trudged across the hellish landscape, he soon encountered a towering wall made of crimson red rock. It was the tallest structure he had ever seen, and he could sense an even greater heat emanating from within. But Issei did not hesitate. He had come too far to be deterred by a mere wall. Approaching the opening in the wall, Issei felt his heart racing with anticipation. What lay beyond? Another test, another trial. He steeled himself for whatever lay ahead and stepped inside. What he saw was beyond anything he could have imagined. The abysmal plain of the underworld stretched out before him, a desolate wasteland of ruins and destruction. Once a great city full of life, it was now a graveyard for the unfortunate souls who had died there. Lava flowed like a river, fire raged everywhere, and the stench of death and decay hung heavy in the air. Despite seeing this horrific and abominable sight before him, Issei knew he had to press on. He was on a journey, a test, and he would not rest until he had proved himself worthy. Issei. This place, it's nothing but an endless void for the lost souls. Greg. That it is partner, that it is. In an effort to not waste any more time than he already had, Issei began walking through the ruined city, passing by fire, lava pools, and destroyed buildings without a care. He was in an abyss area and he didn't have time to deal with any hellspawn that might come his way. As he walked, he realized that he couldn't sense anything unusual, which was odd. He wondered why there were no demons trying to attack him. Was it because they finally learned not to mess with the Emperor of Domination? But if that was the case, then the hellspawn of the lower depths of hell wouldn't have bothered him eons ago. Something was definitely off, and Issei could feel it within him. He knew that something was going to appear, he just didn't know what. Suddenly, Issei heard a noise that put him on guard. He turned his gaze to the sky, the source of the noise, and saw an awe-striking sight. A phoenix. A mighty firebird with great wings of fire and heat soared above him, circling him as its gaze was locked onto the crimson-red armor he wore on his body. Issei had seen that gaze numerous times on his journey so far, and it was not a good one to behold. Issei realized that this was not the phoenix he had hoped to see someday when he returned home. It was a demon, conjured up by hell to try and torture him. But why did hell choose such a majestic creature? Why a phoenix of all things to challenge him? Perhaps hell had seen into his memories and saw his fight with Riser Phoenix. But that would mean that this phoenix above him was merely a demonized version of Riser, which was a poor choice on Hell's part because they had merely given Issei a punching bag that would do absolutely no damage to his armor. Greg. I was wondering why it was quiet. Issei nodded in agreement as he stared up at the demon. The phoenix unleashed its call, diving down with its talons out to snatch the Red Dragon Emperor up from the ground. But Issei easily dodged this attempt by lunging backwards before the firebird could get close to him. The impact tore up the ground beneath the creature as it roared out in anger, staring down Issei, who sprouted his wings from his back and took to the sky without saying a single word. The phoenix soon took to the sky once again, chasing after Issei, who flew through the air and dodged all of the fireballs that the demon bird began to launch toward him. Well, he didn't actually need to dodge anything because either the phoenix was terrible at aiming or it had a plan. The brown-haired boy feels like it was just terrible at aiming because Issei wasn't really going that fast, he was merely a few feet away from the demon's beak, so it should have a direct target. The thing must have the aim of a stormtrooper, those dudes couldn't hit for shit, so it was no wonder that they were mere cannon fodder for the rebels and others to kill. Issei's eyes flashed green as he quickly turned and reared a fist back, crossing with the firebird and causing a shockwave throughout the sky that the duo battled each other in. Both enemies gazed into each other's eyes. Issei could see the clear definition of Riser within the flames, and it just pissed him off. Boost, 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 boost. Issei's strength increased, causing him to overpower the phoenix and send it falling down to one of the ruined buildings below, crashing down upon it and causing it to collapse from how old it was and the demon's weight. Braig chuckled. Braig. Was that really the best this thing got? I expected more. Issei was gonna chuckle as well, but he refrained from doing so as he saw a faint glow from within dust cloud below. Just then, the phoenix roared and it flew through the dust cloud and charged toward Issei, who narrowed his eyes and charged toward the beats as well. He reared his fist back and just like before, he socked the demon in the jaw and sent it back down to the dead earth below. Issei watched as several more buildings collapse due to the demon bird's crashing landing, and this caused him to let out a small chuckle. Issei. Wow, if this thing was supposed to be exactly like Riser, then I should have given you my parts ages ago. Braig. That may be true, partner. But you have to remember that we have been here for an undetermined amount of time. Issei fell silent. Braig had a point there. They had been in hell for who knows how long. Issei has walked across the dead earth for what felt like eons at this point, and there hasn't even been a single clue about him exit out of hell. Something like this should be no problem. Issei should have just made a magic circle and left, but he doesn't know how to make one, and Braig has been sealed away for a very long time. The three factions went through a lot of changes during the Welsh Dragon's time in the Sacred Gear. Plus, why would he even care about magic circles? He doesn't use them. He's a dragon who once wielded the most powerful flames in all of existence, flames that could burn even gods to nothing but ash. Issei. Yeah, you kinda got a point there. Braig, but still this is kinda fun. Braig. Well, that's funny for you to say since all you have done so far is just walk and walk. Issei rolled his eyes as he began to decease to the ground. He soon landed as he put his wings away just in time for the demon phoenix to rise back up again and let out a mighty call which echoed throughout the ruined city. Issei. Geez, this thing is becoming annoying. Braig. I agree with you on that, partner. The Firebird flew into the air as it once again began to circle the Red Dragon Emperor, much to his annoyance because so far this demon has not made a single scratch on him and was basically wasting his time. Issei. Buck this, Braig. Can we end it and get moving? Braig chuckled as the idea came to his mind. Since Issei has basically mastered the balance breaker, then he had access to some sub-armors that his previous users created. Braig. I know what we can use. Issei raised an eyebrow as he swears he can almost see the dragon grinning within his mind, which caused the latter to grow his own. Issei. Okay, let's do it. Suddenly, Issei's armor began to glow crimson red as the gems shined with a bright green hue. The boy let out a mighty roar which shook the ground as a bright light engulfed the area and caused the demon phoenix to back off a little. It watched as the light died down, revealing Issei still in his balance breaker armor, but now had a backpack and two cannons on his shoulders. Braig. Change Fang Blast. Issei had a grin behind his helmet as he had to say, he felt Kaiki was in love. The brown-haired boy had absolutely no idea that he could do this. Sure, he brought out the balance breaker's wings, but that just felt natural to him. Maybe it was due to him now being a dragon rather than human or devil, he wasn't sure. But what he does know for sure is that he will need to make a mental note and try the other forms of the balance breaker when he gets the chance. Issei. Braig, you crazy son of a bitch. You're awesome. Braig laughed at his partner's words. He shouldn't take credit for something he didn't do like it was his previous weirders who made the new forms drag, merely kept them to remember those he once fought with. Braig. I'm glad you like it, shall we test it out? Issei. Hell yeah. He looked up at the demon phoenix which hoved above, the boy's eyes glowing green under the helmet. Issei. And we have the perfect target. The demon let out a mighty roar, somehow hearing the boy's words despite the guard distance between them, and it dove down towards Issei, ready to make the Red Dragon Emperor pay for saying such a thing to it. But then claw-like spikes erupted from the balance breaker's legs and dug into the ground, locking Issei's feet into place as his eyes shined bright green. Issei. Braig. On it, partner. Boost. 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 Braig. Now, Issei. Issei smirked. Issei. Chew on this, demon dragon blaster. Two enormous crimson red beam fired from the cannons on Issei's back, striking the demon phoenix in the chest and causing it to roar out in pain and agony. The impact and the continuous stream of beams pushed it back, sending it crashing into the stone wall at the back with tremendous force. In fact, the wall started cracking before caving in on itself from the pressure of Issei's attack, which gained his attention as he finally stopped firing. Braig whistled in amazement. Once again his partner has shown him how diverse he was with the new armor, and it was the brown-haired boy's first time using it as well. The Welsh dragon's previous host took a while to get used to the forms because it drained them any time they used it in combat. If Issei could do this much with one of them, then Drake can't possibly imagine what he will do once he starts switching the armors mid-combat. Greg. Well, partner. You have one sauce and proven th. Greg soon paused as he noticed Issei starting off at the hole that formed from his attack, narrowing his eyes as he saw that it was different inside. Greg. What is partner? Issei. I found our exit, Drake. I found the exit from this area. Greg was surprised, but he soon grew a small smirk. Greg. Well, shall we? Issei nodded his head as the two cannons glowed red, disappearing from Issei's back as the Red Dragon Emperor's wings appeared, and he immediately took flight. He wasn't sure who or what he'll face in the next zone, but so far he hasn't seen anything that he can't possibly handle. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.